What's going on, everybody? Give me a minute. So, anyways, I made some comments online about teachers the other day, and someone decided to message me. I hope you're watching this too, because I'm going to answer your question. The reason why I'm going to do it in video is because I figured why not just answer a video. That way everybody gets the hell from work. So that way everybody gets the answer at the same time. All right, so here's my answer. To the post that I was commenting on, they were bashing on Ford for not being there for teachers on the teachers' plans. And Ford, of course, is basically about. I'm going to give you the same answer basically he gave you, okay? But I'm going to be more direct. I'm going to point out where I think it's why or exactly I think they should be disciplined, and why I think they're failing our kids. And it's not the parents. It's no issue at home. It is DV teachers and their plans. So here we go. And I'm going to point out in the the Educational Act, where you can find exactly what I'm talking about. So that way you can, once we're done, you go on. It's 113-13, something like that. But anyways, the Educational Act of Canada. It's under teachers' obligations. That's what I'm going to talk about. That's, I believe, Act 22. I haven't looked up in a while. I got stuff packed, so my laptop's put away. All right, so here's my thing with teachers. I'm not bashing on all teachers. To say that all teachers are bad is like saying that all cops are bad. And I happen to know for a fact that's bullshit. Okay? Yeah, there's a lot of cops that shouldn't be wearing badges. But there's a fucking ton of them that are really good guys and good girls, man. They talk to you. They'll talk about your life with you. They don't sit there and harass you. Or, what are you doing? How's it going? You know what I mean? Now, but there's a lot of them that do that. They just go out of their way to be dicks. Be it a girl or a guy. Okay? I don't give a fuck what you are. So anyways, so not all teachers are bad, but there are a lot of teachers, I'm not going to name them, but let's just say they shouldn't be teaching. Like how they got a teacher's degree just based off their attitudes is wow. So anyways, I bash at the fact of their actions, all right? Be it that they know it or don't know it. Honestly, I think they know it and they're just dickheads about it, and it's their way or the highway. So, actions that I'm talking about, let me give you an example. If you say your kid's failing in class, and you go and you have a meeting with the teachers and the principal, and they say, oh, we set up a plan, we got a plan, and we're not going to change that plan for that one kid that's unfair to the rest of the class. See, I'm sure a lot of you parents know where I'm going with this because you've heard these words, right, from teachers. But here's the thing. If you bring up an idea, if you bring up, like, say, you oppose that plan because you know your child and you know that plan won't work for your child, and the fact that your child's failing is proving that that plan the teacher came up with is failing the student, right? Teachers will ignore you. They'll just, nope, this is my plan. That's it, that's all. Da, 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 yada, yada. We've all heard it before. Here's the thing. Under teachers' obligations of the Educational Act of Canada, it clearly states, and before I get into it, obligation, if you look up in the dictionary, it means lawful. It means they have no choice. This isn't about rules and maybe they can wiggle it. This is the law. So, under teachers' obligations, it clearly states, okay, clearly, that the teachers are to work with the parents 50-50 on the betterment of the child's education and to be able to give them the proper education. Because why does it say that? Let me explain it. No one knows those kids, even out of teachers, better than the parents. There's no argument over that. There's no debating that. I don't care how many hours a day you spend with those kids. There's nobody who knows those kids better than the parents, and teachers refuse to recognize this. They assume they know your child better than you. And that's where their huge mistake, this is a huge rift that part of it anyways, of why there's such a disconnect between parents and teachers. So they refuse to change the plan. Of course, the child fails, and then what happens? Time and time again, the same plan, they keep failing, and who gets involved? Who are the number one people that teachers just love calling? Not the CLSC or any nurses or any specialists or anything like that. We all know that. We as parents know that the number one people they love to use as a weapon against parents, CAS, DPG, whatever they're called in your province, that's what their weapon is. You don't go along with their plan, you know, there must be something wrong at home. There must be something wrong with what you're doing, the parent. Not us at the school. We're doing everything just perfectly right. But you're failing your kids. You're failing at home. That's the attitude we get. And of course, they go ahead and they go. Now, a lot of times, and I was on a school governing board, and a lot of the times, the principal had no idea. The DPG, or in Quebec, that's what they're called, had no idea that they were in the school. Now, according to the Educational Act, she's supposed to know before anyone else. The teachers are supposed to go to him or her and express their feelings. The principal is then supposed to go and hold a meeting with the parents and the teachers and try to work everything out. If nothing can be worked out, if nothing can be done, and there's no way it can work together, and it's completely divided, they are to call like the specialist, CLSC, stuff like that. Or if it's severe enough complaint, or if it's severe enough with evidence, then they can go ahead and call the CAS or DPG right away. A lot of the times, principals, even the principal here at this school, had no idea that other parents were being visited at the school, and the complaint came from the school. That's another thing. How come these offices, these social workers, keep telling us exactly who makes the complaint? It states in their rules they're not allowed, but they tell us exactly where the complaint came from. Trust me. How is it that they're getting away with this? That's against their rules. But anyways, we're not going to get into them jokers. So, because there are some very few good ones in that area of field, but there's a whole lot of nasty, just evil people that should not even be in that field. They should be in jail. But anyways, courts protect them. Probably get shot for saying that, but oh well. So the teachers like to use them as weapons, right? And we need to put a stop to this. This is sick. And they need to start changing their plans. If you want me to stop bashing on these teachers, then these teachers need to start changing their plan for the child. There should be no child that fails education. It's up to the teachers to find out how to feed that child education. That's why that's their jobs. They're teachers. But it's the plan that fails because they refuse to tweak it. They refuse to change it in any slightest way. And that's what fails the child. It's not an issue with you, the parent. If they ever say that to you, trust me, it's right away, know this. They're deflecting. You are not the problem. Your home life is not the problem. Don't let them deflect on you. Fight back on this. No, your plan is the problem because you refuse to change your plan for that one child, which means you are failing as a teacher. Because you are not allowed, because it even states under teachers' obligations, you are not allowed to no, we're not changing the plan. It states in there that you have to look at every individual child and figure out the way to teach that individual child. Not the collective. But that's how they're doing it in classes now. That's how they want to continue doing it. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to continue to break the rules, if you're going to continue to go against the law, then I say forward, don't give them the money. Don't give them anything they ask for. Not until they're willing to go back to proper way of teaching. Because they're supposed to be working with the parents, not fighting with them. And another thing that really bothers me about schools is I've noticed too, it really depends on the class of life you come from is how your child gets treated. Now they like to say, oh no, that's not true. It is true. If you come from a poor income home or a poor income family, teachers tend to ignore your child a lot more. They tend to have more issues with those families, those children. But yet, a child that comes from a rich home that gets raised basically by nannies, not an issue. There's something sneaky going on there, and that's got to be put to a stop too. I've noticed it time and time again. And remember, folks, I was on the governing board as a community representative, which means I talk to all the parents, business owners, everything. I talk to them all. And they all had different stories. But I noticed in the one area, they all had pretty much the same story. And then, go up a class, in the middle class, same story. Go up in the higher class, the ones with the mayor's kids and whatnot. And, okay. They all seem to have a similar story, but they're all different from each other. So to me, that just means that something's being based off of class here rather than education. And these young little teachers, I'm talking to you youngsters. You guys got to get a little bit more reality on life before you involve or influence our children on your political views, on your political standards. I think you need to live life a little longer. Gain a little more knowledge before you start flapping your trap about Biden or about Trump or Trudeau or even opening your mouths. You're young kids. You're 25, 26. You haven't lived life. You've been stuck in this a classroom. How have you lived life? So before you start influencing politics in your elementary schools, I think you need to learn a little bit, thing or two about life first. Let the older teachers take up that role of teaching politics. You shouldn't be opening your mouth. My son's come home now from an elementary school I'm not going to mention here in Ontario. And twice now he's brought up Biden and Trump and how they talked about it and yada yada. Why is a Canadian school even mentioning that crap to our Canadian kids in a Canadian school under Canadian education? I can understand high school if you want to hold like a political debate class or something. That's more suitable. That's more proper. But elementary? No. That is brainwashing is what that is. You're not even going to give that child enough time to understand and learn politics under his own demeanor. You're going to just now enforce it into their minds that Trump is this evil, fucking sadistic Satanist, rapist, racist, whatever. But you're not even going to bring up the fact that Biden's been seen on camera touching little girls, smelling little girls, yanking on little girls to pull them closer. I mean, it's been caught on camera. And no, that's not, in an elementary school, that just shouldn't be brought up, guys. I'm sorry. We need to bring that shit back to basic. Teach basic math, basic science, basic geography, basic history, basic English, basic. It has to come back down to basic, and what we should be really focusing on is implementing more technology to help our kids of today learn, because as much as we hate to admit it, the truth is technology is the future, guys. And it's ever more so evident today than it was even 5 years ago. So this is the direction we're moving in. We need to evolve with it. But I'm not saying that we should evolve and pull away from the environment or anything like that. I'm actually stating the opposite. What I think is we need to add in healthy, instead of adding politics and religion in the school, let's add a healthy balance of technology and environment in the school. Okay? Let's start getting gardens out in our schools. Let's see beautiful gardens on every single school ground, private, public, doesn't matter. Let's get them out there. Military, doesn't matter. Let's get these beautiful gardens. Let's get our kids learning how to grow food. Let's get them to learn how to grow and recognize food, and as well as medicine and herbs and other things that we need to grow, that they should be learning. But we need to add that extra help thing of technology when it comes to, say, math or history. These things we should be really focusing on advancing. Look at Japan. I keep bringing that up. Why? Because they're like 10 years ahead of us in technology and science and all biology and all this crap. Why? Because they changed the method within school. They added a healthy dose of both. That's what Canada needs to do. We need to focus on our education and add a healthy dose of those two things rather than the teacher's personal political feelings and the teacher's personal religious feelings. Can't be doing that, guys. Now, am I saying that later in high school we can add those things? I don't mind that. But in elementary, just to get them to the right level of thinking, we need to start changing the teachers' attitudes with their plans, and we need to start implementing the right type of plans, the ones that work for each individual child and each individual family. And you teachers need to stop blaming the parents and blaming, oh, there must be things wrong at home. No! The problem is your plan. See, in Quebec, we had the same issue with my daughter. We had to fight with the teachers. Finally, I got a CLSC nurse involved, and even the CLSC nurse said, no! The problem here, and I've been to both, is your plan. And we changed it, and not saying she was great, because trust me, my daughter was like me. I could show you both our one-year report cards out of her first grade, and they're identical. So I know she's a little demon, but she was still, she was progressing. And that's all we really wanted from her at that time, was for her to start really progressing, moving more away from the whole, because she's a tactile learner, right? So when she explodes. She shuts down. So we have, and Dad usually just gets on the phone with her, talks to her, and sometimes I get her laughing. Sometimes I gotta be like, hey, look, if you don't behave, I'm taking away all your stuff for a week. Sure enough, I didn't get a phone call by the end of the day. But this is what I mean, but teachers, they kept saying that the problem was something we must have been doing or something that must be happening at home. That was their excuse for years. Sorry. So finally I brought in a CLSC nurse, and she put her foot down. And we got things changed at that school. Like I said, not all teachers are bad. We finally got her into a class where, like I said on other videos, there's some teachers that deserve rewards, and these two teachers in my daughter's class deserve the greatest reward in Canada as far as I'm concerned, dealing with her. But guess what? One of them didn't deal with her as a kid. She dealt with me as a kid, so she definitely deserves a reward. So this is the type of things we need to change, right? And Quebec really needs to change their educational system. It's terrible. Look, skipped 4 grades, 2 in the same day, and I was 16 years old, ready to leave high school. Only reason I don't have a high school degree, and I decided, you know what, screw all that, I'm just going to work my ass off the rest of my life, just like my family before me, was because they looked at me and said, well, he can't learn French. Yeah, but he passed everything else. But no, he can't. He's really bad in French. We're going to need to do it at least 3 more years. I remember this, and I just looked at him and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go talk to my Uncle Mike. And I got up and I just walked out, man. I went to my Uncle Mike and said, Uncle Mike, can I go to work with you? Been working ever since, guys. So this is what I'm talking about. I shouldn't be where I am today. I'm actually glad I am, though, because it made me way smarter, to be honest. But let's face it, I should have had a high school degree. At 16, if I would have left high school, that means I would have been placed into college right away. 16 years old, leaving high school, I'm going to college. I guarantee you, I'm going to college. So anyways, start really worming my way through college. Probably, I don't see myself going to university, though, depending on where I was going. See, I was really big on psychology, and I still am to this day. But I'm also very big on astrology. I'm big on history. I'm big on religion. So many different kinds of religion, not just a religion. So imagine where I'd be if I would have just been handed that high school degree. Imagine where I'd be. But you know what? Like I said, I'm actually kind of glad I didn't. Because then I would have turned into some rich asshole or something along those lines who thinks they're better than everyone else, and I wouldn't have any understanding of any other type of field of life. Middle class, lower class, criminal, non-criminal, drug, non-drug. You know what I mean? I would have never gone through the experiences to have the understanding, and only through understanding can you gain knowledge, and only through knowledge can you gain true wisdom, right? And only through wisdom, what do you get? Compassion, because you understand. You understand what that person under the bridge, fighting every day, is going through. 16 years old, my brother brought me to Montreal and he had me out there panhandling, squeegeeing, the whole works. I was living the life of a homeless person. And then I went on to even trying to understand the life of a punk rocker. And at 16, I started these things. Like I wanted to experience the world for what everything it had. So the different areas of life, the different classes, and I succeeded. But teachers, they don't get that experience. They don't get that knowledge, right? They don't get the understanding or the compassion to understand that, okay, this family comes from a lower class, but maybe they're not a low class family. Maybe they're just hard knock life, right? So there's no compassion because there's no wisdom and there's no knowledge, so there's no understanding. You can read a book 1,000 times, but it's only going to tell you about one kid. It's only going to tell you about one family. Even after 1,000 times of reading it, it's not going to give you any other ideas of what other lives are like, or other children's attitudes or personality or psychological disadvantages or advantages that they might have. Look at me. I was a terrible kid. I'm not going to lie. I was a rotten apple. But then I came to Ontario as a child, and they figured out exactly how to get to me. They knew exactly what was my little tick, if you will. And they made me boom. That's all I'm saying. But that's because the teachers back then, when I was going through school, would look at the individual child and create the individual plan. In today's schools, that's just gone out the window. It's here's one plan. If you can't follow it, you fail. Rather than, okay, well, if I would have let this child learn, say, through a calculator or a computer, rather than on paper, that they would have advanced just as equally as everyone else in the class. Nope, we're just going to go ahead and fail it because I'm not going to bother with all that stuff. Even though it's your job. Under the Educational Act, it's your job. So I advise everyone, especially parents, because see these excuses and stuff, they use them because they know you've never read the Educational Act. You know nothing about it, and whatever they say, you're basically just going to take them from word. My advice to all parents is to you don't have to get involved with the governing board. You don't have to get involved with the PPE. You don't have to get involved with the fundraisers or anything like that. Read the Educational Act. Especially when it comes to parents, principal, and teachers. Read all their obligations. Read all what they're supposed to do. What they have the right to their rights, because they also have rights too. So make sure you learn those as well. Learn them. A lot of parents that I've dealt with throughout the time I was on the governing board, and which was a lot of parents that came running to me. I'm not going to say who, because a lot of times it was embarrassing. They just don't want people to know about it. So I'll respect that. But a lot of parents came to me and told me straight out that they had no idea of the rights and power they had that I was mentioning to them. And I'd bring it right up on my phone. Look, you're right. And they'd fight it. And they'd win. Because it's their right. We have so much power, say, and rights. Barely any parent knows it. So read the Educational Act. Read what you can do. Read how you can get involved. Read how you can defend your family. And read, especially teachers' obligations. And you're going to see that. This is what I'm bashing on. They're not following the obligations, the law. And that's what I'm bashing on. Because trust me, there's a lot of brilliant teachers who have brilliant ideas on how to teach these kids. But there's other teachers out there who are just rotten to the core. I've met a few of them. There's some teachers I shouldn't be teaching. But there's a lot of good teachers. Don't get me wrong. And with the right tools, those teachers can be amazing teachers. But they don't have the right tools. Why? Because who wants to hand them money? Even parents have a huge disconnect with teachers in the school. Why? Because of their attitude. Because we're not felt like we're heard at all. Yet these are our kids. We know them better than you. And why aren't you listening to us? Why aren't you changing your plan for that one, that Timmy or that Sylvie or Sue or Jessica or Bobby or Mark? Why aren't you changing your plan for those kids to the way they need to learn equally with the rest of the class? So that's something I would change. I would look into it. I'd send a team in. Let's get this done. Let's start modernizing our schools and get them out of the medieval age. Let's start modernizing our education, the way we teach and how they teach in schools, and make sure the teachers have proper tools. And I'm all for that. The second the teachers start obeying the rules, because you got to remember, there's a school already in Ontario, and they're outsourcing the parents. They're outsourcing the people, business owners, and everybody who wants to teach to come into the school and teach on behalf of the teachers. They're actually attempting it. And I think this is the brilliantest way to go, because let's face it, the teachers we have, a good portion of them just won't change. They won't change their plans for your child. You're always going to be told that you're doing something wrong. There's something must be wrong at home. When the truth is, no matter how you look at it, it's their plan that's failing your child. Not you, not your home life. The teacher's attitude and their plan. Teachers got to stop making collective plans, and we need to start getting back to making individual plans. Even if it means bringing in technology, even if it means you have to bring in some outsource, another specialist, we need to get back to focusing on the individual child and the individual needs of the child, or the children, sorry. That's what we need to get back to. So I hope that answers your question. Until that happens, I will keep pointing out the obvious that they keep failing on. I'm going to keep pointing out when they go against the Educational Act, I am going to point it out. And no one's going to stop me. Have a great day, guys. I hope you know what I'm talking about. I hope that answered your question about my feelings and my thoughts on the whole school issue. Teachers need to, the good teachers need to step up, stand up on behalf of the parents, and parents need to step up and back them. And we need to weed out the rotten teachers and the teachers that just refuse to follow the Educational Act. Their law, not ours. Have a great day, guys.